Hi, I am live. I am here. I am going to be answering your decluttering questions or home routine questions. I am Dana K. White. I am the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life and several other books. And I talk about real life decluttering, like in ways that it actually works, no matter what your situation is. So I am going to be answering questions that have been submitted ahead of time at askdanakWhite.com. See my cute little banner there. And you can go and ask questions for future lives there if you're watching this when it's not live. I am going to take about 30 minutes to answer questions that were submitted ahead of time, but then I'm also going to answer questions from those of you watching live. Obviously, I never get to all of them, but I'll be doing that in the last half of this hour. So we'll be here about an hour. I try to do these on Tuesdays at noon Central, but life happens and I have to either change the time or sometimes I can't do them. I know I missed several in a row because I was out of town. But whenever I can, I try to do these. So this is it's just fun, right? Like I feel like we get to hang out, we get to have this conversation. And I know that for the majority of people who relate to me and identify with me and learn decluttering strategies from me, you need to really hear this more than once or look at it from a different angle. So that's one of the reasons that I do these, because I know this is not simple for a lot of us. So here we go. First question. What I'm going to do is I have a shortened version of the question that fits here on one of these little doolollies, but I'm going to read the full question. So actually as the person asked it. So here we go. Routines. I just watched your changing circumstances video. I appreciate you naming the quest for the perfect routine as idealism. It is, y'all. This is me talking now. The perfect routine is searching for that, is falling into idealism like it's never actually. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep reading. The opportunities that I get are prioritized by urgency and need. This thing needs to happen every day. It doesn't matter when, just get it done ASAP. Right. Okay. So she's talking about that video. How do you develop routines when everything around keeps changing? I had routines and was just starting back into my profession when my kids got into high school and didn't need me as much, and my husband went to work. Then my husband had to retire due to a rapidly deteriorating disability. Just as I think there's a pattern emerging, things change. I wish there were 2 weeks to get used to things before the shape of how things are changes yet again. My husband is disabled, and how well he is determines whether or not he goes to scheduled outings, leaving me an hour alone to do the wet floors, part of the cleaning, or hooray, no one else is in the house. I can finally have some headspace to make it possible for my ADHD brain, part of the sorting. I want to be kind, loving, patient, gracious, accommodating, gentle, supportive, encouraging, but I feel like my needs have to wait until everyone else is happy. I have a hard time sometimes being gracious and accommodating. I have found doing the dishes when he is sitting at the table, eating slowly is a good way to get some of the mess under control without him being upset that I'm buzzing around doing things and that it makes him feel exhausted. I stopped doing so much, but now the house feels overwhelmingly messy. I can keep it clean, but I get interrupted so often. I don't seem to be able to get anything tidy and finished. So I always have things partly done when he wants help. And I often forget what I was doing to get on with whatever else seems most urgent or highest priority. Okay, this is a lot, right? Like this question asker has been through a lot, is currently going through a lot. So I read that whole thing because I feel like I felt the asker's just frustration, right? Like, so a couple things I want to say here. First of all, to realize that what you are going through is legitimately difficult. The actual situation, but the adjustment is also very difficult. So give yourself a little bit of grace as you go through this. You are wanting, I can tell your heart is in an amazing place. You want to do the right thing, but it is frustrating. It is hard. So I just want to validate that for you, that what you're going through and feeling like, okay, I'm kind of starting to get this, and then things change, because you're adjusting. You are adjusting to a whole new way of life, right? And so in Decluttering at the Speed of Life, the last chapter is about grief. Okay. And I think sometimes people, the assumption is that grief is only for, death. I mean, even if people don't put it into words, it's kind of like, okay, I don't really think of it that way. But one very transformative thing for me early years ago, 20 something years ago, that a friend told me that a friend had told her was, you at different phases of life, as you start to realize, oh, things are different now. I can't go back. Like there's no going back. Like having that realization, that is a period of grief. Like there's an actual grieving that goes through that goes along with those life changes. You are going through a time of grieving. You're not, that doesn't, I'm not a mental health professional, okay? But I am telling you that there is adjustment time, and to realize, oh, okay, this is not okay, what's it like now? Everything changes. It's like, it's a process. The grieving process is a process of adjustment and all that kind of stuff. So you are going through that. And I just want to validate that what you're going through is hard. As far as how do you deal with this as things consistently change, one thing that you said in there made me think about, the way things used to be. It sounds like you kind of had things under control, and then you're back at work and you're dealing with a disabled family member. As that is happening, really acknowledge that your clutter threshold has most likely changed. I mean, I'm saying it has changed just from hearing your frustration and all of that. Yes, there's a period of adjustment, but even as the adjustment goes, sometimes part of that adjustment is realizing that your clutter threshold has changed. You are working outside the home where you hadn't before. Like you had some time and some energy to focus on things that you now have to put that time and energy into other things. So your clutter threshold has changed. Also, you have, even when you are home, your energy is going into other things because of this, new family situation that you're in. So acknowledging, okay, my clutter threshold may have changed. I can't keep up with things the way that I used to, whether it's because I don't have the energy or because it's stressing him out and I'm trying to kind of avoid that, me constantly, you said something about me constantly being busy, kind of is stressful for him. The way to be less busy in your home, the way to not have to be doing that as much, is to have less stuff. So even if your home wasn't cluttered before, because of your new situation, you may not be able to handle as much stuff. I define clutter as anything that consistently gets out of control, anything I personally can't handle. So it's different for different people. So for you, if things are, you said, things are feeling messy, the way to not have it feel as messy is to get the stuff out. So focus on decluttering. Another thing that you said was something about, I don't necessarily know when I'm going to have this time where I can really focus, have some time to really have the headspace and focus, time for sorting. I kind of assume there that you're talking about decluttering, because that's what sometimes people call it. But with that, what I recommend is that you really say, even though I used to not have to follow the no mess decluttering method, I used to be able to do it the way that, most people who talk about decluttering tell you to do it, which is pull everything. I used to be able to do that. Now, it is more essential for you to follow the 5-step process that I have in Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Okay. Or that I talk about it here all the time. It's in videos here. So there's no reason, you don't have to buy the book. You can also get it at a library. But that, or you can get the, let's see, you can get the printable of it, here at aslobcomesclean.com/5. But this right here, this process is even more important for you, because even if you don't necessarily realize it, you're going through a lot, and this process removes emotions from the process. So you are just fact-based as you're going on, which you've got a lot going on, and to add in emotions and what ifs and what is life going to be like in the future, that's too much for you. So just go with the process. But it also is designed for progress and only progress, so that you can use the process and make only progress in any amount of time, because you don't have predictable amounts of time like you may be used to, or predictable amounts of energy, most likely, either. So it's more essential for you to really follow the process. Say, even if you don't think it's going to work, give it a try. Try that in these little pockets of time that you don't know, is it going to be a 5-minute pocket of time, or is it going to be an hour pocket of time? It doesn't matter. You use this process and you can work for the 5 minutes, or you can get interrupted at 12 minutes, or you can work the whole hour, and you're only going to make this space better. And getting rid of stuff is going to help you so much with that, with this new clutter threshold that you have, because you've got so many external things going on that getting rid of more stuff is just going to make it where it can't get messy as easily, as quickly. Okay. Which then is going to make you have to spend less time. It's going to not require you to spend as much time as you've been spending. Okay. Next question. This is one. These are the hard ones, right? Like, y'all can see what the question is, right? So, okay, let me read how it goes. I have been trying to declutter for about 3 years. I have a 3.5 and 1.5-year-old. My elderly neighbor lady spends all her time at yard sales. After cramming her own house as full as she possibly could, her mission is now to give my kids every toy that has ever been created. I know that you're speaking in extremes, but I also feel exactly what you're saying. So that's how I would say it too, right? My 3.5-year-old son is getting more and more whiny and demanding, and melts down when he can't find his favorite toys in the mountains of toys we have. I'm getting totally stressed out. Even though I try to purge the toys as much as I can, I just can't keep up. How do I tell my sweet neighbor, who we love dearly, that enough is enough? It is really putting strain on my relationship with her. This is hard, right? Because you've got somebody who has a beautiful heart, who loves your child. I mean, you love my kid, I love you, right? Like, that's how life works. And so I get it. You don't want to hurt her feelings, but you said it, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. And it sounds like you did say that you were trying to get things out, more and more. And so, my first advice would be, okay, just as anything comes in, other things need to go. But you also, the bandwidth, right, of having a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, you got a lot going on, and you may not be able to make daily or weekly trips to the donation center. So while that would be the way to do it and be least likely to hurt her feelings, at this point, I think just being really, really honest. Okay. And it's tough, right? Because we have someone here who doesn't understand limits, right? Like, and I'm saying that as someone who didn't understand limits either. Like, when I was getting started with this process, I was the person who went to garage sales all the time. I was the person gathering, bringing stuff into my home. I didn't understand limits. So I understand why she doesn't understand limits, right? Because I didn't know it either. So as you do this, knowing that she doesn't understand, so you're going to have to kindly and as clearly as you possibly can explain your reality. Okay. When we're not going to criticize, how your home is completely out of control. I'm trying not to have that happen to my house. We don't want to say that, even though that's ultimately what you're saying, right? But just put it on yourself and put it on me as this lady on the internet who wrote this book, right? like give her a copy and say, I'm giving you this copy just so you can understand why I have to say no. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Like I love that you find these are the coolest things that you find, but I'm drowning here. It is a lot for me. I mean, it's hard enough just having a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, y'all. I mean, right? Everybody here, everybody watching this right now who's had young, you remember, right? Like you feel like I'm barely hanging on as it is. And so to have toys coming into my house constantly that I don't even want here, and then I have to figure out how to get rid of them, it just becomes a thing of, I'm just letting you know, and maybe do it at a time where you are drinking some lemonade. That's what neighbors do, right? That's what we do. I've never actually drank lemonade with my neighbors, but in my mind, that's how this conversation is going to go, right? So, but you invite her over, or you take her some cupcakes or something, or just you find a time where you are talking and she's not handing you something. Okay, so in that moment, then it's a rejection, right? Like if she's actually handing you the thing, then it can feel very much like, oh, I can't believe you didn't just take this from me. So see if you can find another time where you just say, I'm just letting you know, I have been decluttering. And it's one of the ways that I am able to manage my kids as toddlers right now. Like I have started to realize that I get crankier when we have a whole lot of stuff. And, my son, isn't he adorable? But yeah, he gets super cranky because like we just don't have the space. And then with my personality and especially with having young kids, I can't keep it all perfect, and and because I can't do that, then it ends up in piles, and then he can't find things, and then he gets so cranky and stuff. So I've realized I've been getting stuff. So, I've had to get rid of a lot of the stuff that you've given me. I'm just asking, can you help me? Can you help me by just not bringing him any stuff for a while? Like I'll come to you when maybe I feel like we're ready, but and I hate for you to buy stuff and be spending your money and then I'm having to just get rid of it. But like, I just can't handle it. So put it on yourself and say, the thing that has helped me has been realizing that there's this thing called a clutter threshold. I know it basically means everybody has different amounts of stuff that they can handle. And I can't handle a lot of stuff. It's just part of my personality. And so, here, you should read the book or whatever. And just putting it on you as saying, I'm sorry, I can't handle this. But I do recommend that you try to find a time where she's not in the midst of handing you an item so that it's not rejected. But it's hard. It's not going to be easy. But this hard conversation is going to have so many benefits in the future. Okay. Not saying that you're not going to have the hard conversation a lot. Okay. Or 3 or 4 times or whatever. But, and then once you have the hard conversation and then she hands you something, say, oh, remember we talked about, I just can't, I just can't remember, but you've already had that. Anyway, it's hard. It's very, very difficult. But I really, the resentment that you're feeling, having that hard conversation kindly, honestly, so we're not going to have the conversation of stop giving me stuff. Your house is full. We're not going to do that. Right. Instead, we're going to, just be completely honest. I have a clutter threshold. I can't handle all that, especially right now at this phase of my life when the kids are, there. And most older people will, they will say things like, even some of the people who are giving them lots of toys will say things like, when I was a kid, we just played outside. And so maybe, like, I'm really trying to, just really help my kid embrace, playing outside and playing in the dirt and playing, building things with sticks or whatever. We're really trying to embrace that. And a lot of, anyway, it's not easy, but just, sorry. Okay, my parents will be, okay, I'm going to read the whole question. There's the shorter version. My parents will be moving in with us due to their retirement and the benefit of having grandparents to help with the kids. My dad enjoys his stuff and tinkering and getting things because they are a good deal or useful for someday. They are moving from a 3-bedroom apartment to the master bedroom in our house. Any advice on how to tell him that he needs to keep things to a minimum? The space we have is the space we have, but I know he can Tetris his stuff pretty well. Instead of saying, which, I mean, this is where I kind of feel bad that you asked this question in September, so he's probably already in your house. Just remember, those of y'all who are watching and need personal help, I do have coaches, right? Like, so I have coaches who, let's see, where is it? Oh, this is my website, declutteringcoaches.com. They are trained and certified by me. A lot of them do online coaching. So you could go to them, you know, for things. But okay, so the parents are moving in. He can Tetris his stuff pretty well. Give him the master bedroom. And that's what, I mean, I'm saying that because you said this in here, like he's moving into the main bedroom of the house. And that's what you had already said. So I know it's not on this little abbreviated version, but that's what you said in the question. And just, it's tough because, you know, it's your house and you have realized these things and you don't want his stuff taking over. Most likely your mom's going to kind of understand what you're talking about as you say these things. But, you know, saying, hey, I'm giving you the largest bedroom with the most storage. You do whatever you want to with it. Like, this is your home now too. You do whatever you want to with that. But as far as like storage, it's all going to need to fit in there, you know, or you say, you determine that he can have this wall of the garage, or you have a shed. So you clean it out of things that you don't need. And you say, this shed, that's the limit. You know, that person I watch on the internet, she talks about the container concept. And I have realized, kind of like with the other one, like I've realized I can't handle a whole lot of stuff, but I have this space for you, the main bedroom, the, you know, this shelf in the garage, whatever. This is for whatever you want, but that has to be the limit, right? Like I can't let it bleed into other parts of the house. Now, I say all this, and there are all kinds of different family dynamics involved, right? But again, it's sticking to the facts. It's sticking to the fact of you have a clutter threshold. You have realized that having stuff that doesn't actually fit in your space means it's going to be impossible for you to ever keep it under control. Space is finite. Giving people a space and letting him decide, okay, this is your thing. You keep whatever you want. I don't care. Like, I'm not here to judge what you're going to keep, but this is the limit. Like, this is the space for that kind of stuff. All right. Let's see. Got a lot of tough questions. Okay. Here's the question. I used to be a seamstress, a knitter, a crocheter, an artist, and now I am down to mostly being able to crochet, all because I have, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this correctly, tumefactive multiple sclerosis. I don't know that it is really my fantasy self, but I guess really it is. Also, it is becoming clearer that I may end up having to give up my crocheting. If you just looked through my craft room, you would still think I was all of those things. I think this is covered in your books where you talk about grieving. I feel like if I ever get around to decluttering, if I have to declutter all my craft things, what will I be? I think it is partially preventing me from continuing, because if I have all the stuff, surely I am still these things. Any idea of a way to go on with this? Yeah, so a couple of things here. First of all, yes, this is what I was talking about earlier when I'm talking about life has changed, and adjusting to the way life is now and accepting that it is never going to be the way that it was before. That is the grief process. Okay. So it is a process that you have to go through. It's not figured this out, done, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I have found in some similar types, I'm not going to be too detailed, but in some similar types of situations, it comes back up again and again, right? Like I'll think that I've done that, I'm kind of past something, and I'll realize, something comes up and it's like, oh, that's right. That can never happen, or that's no longer an option, or whatever. And I kind of have to, give myself a little bit of time to process and be ready to move on from there. So anyway, it is a process that continues to come up over time. But the main thing I'm going to say here is this is kind of like a stopping point for you. Keep decluttering in other areas. Make sure that you are not fixating on this room that represents so much, and it is going to legitimately be so hard. Make sure that you're not letting the knowledge that you are someday going to have to deal with that keep you from dealing with the easy stuff, right? Keep you from tackling other spaces in your home that aren't emotional to you, because you are dealing with a chronic illness, okay? That is something that by definition affects your energy and affects your ability to do things. And so the more, focus in on, I am going to declutter in non-emotional spaces and things that don't represent who I used to be and make me have to deal with who I'm going to be, from here on out. I'm going to go and get rid of this stuff because that's going to make it easier to live in your home, which is then going to help preserve your energy. Kind of like we talked about with, the woman whose husband was, diagnosed with something that was going to be an ongoing condition. It's like the more you get rid of stuff, the easier it is to handle things. The more you get rid of stuff in your house, even the stuff that you don't care deeply about, that doesn't, is not an identity thing for you, getting rid of that helps you then experience how much easier it is to live with less stuff, which then starts to make everything look different to you, right? Like that was my experience. I got rid of the easiest, most boring, least emotional stuff. And I was like, wow, I like my house more. Wow, I don't have to spend as much energy keeping stuff up in my house anymore. Like my house stays under control so much more easily. What else can I get rid of? Like that was, so once I got to the emotional stuff, I had so much momentum that stuff that I had assumed was going to just be so difficult to get rid of, I was ready to get rid of it because I had been decluttering non-emotional stuff and because I had experienced the benefit of that decluttering. And so then by the time I got to it, it looked different to me. Okay. Even if it doesn't look different to you, your house will still be better off. You will still be able to function better in your home because of all the things that you got rid of. Okay. So that's the number one piece of advice that I have is don't let this idea that something is going to be really, really emotionally difficult keep you from doing anything at all. Do the stuff that's not emotionally difficult. And then when you get to it, it'll be different. And even when you look at that craft room, especially after you've already done a lot of other decluttering, think, how will it make my life easier? How will I be able to really embrace the things that I still can do more easily and better if this room has less stuff in it? But it's hard. But again, it is a grieving process. What you are going through is a grieving process. And so, maybe study the grief process, study what that looks like, and you'll be able to identify, where you are in that process and how you're working through it. So, okay, another one. What is the best way to downsize or go through Christmas stuff? Do you take on the job before, during, or after a holiday season? Yes. Before, during, and after the holiday season. Anyway, the rest of her question. I have been a longtime Christmas lover and have been collecting stuff for 15 years. I have about 40 large bins of things, 5 trees, wreaths, outdoor stuff for every room in the house. Now I have 2 young kids. There we go. And the thought of pulling it all up from the basement yearly makes me overwhelmed. I've only been doing the minimum the last 3 years. I have the space to store it, but would love to go through it and downsize. What is the best way to downsize, go through Christmas stuff? Thank you so much. Your books and YouTube channel have changed my life. I couldn't be more thankful. Okay. So, clutter threshold, right? Like I just have to mention that here. Your clutter threshold has changed because your life situation has changed. You can't do what you used to be able to do. You said you have the room to store it, and yet you said it is overwhelming you to think about it. So think, that's wonky curl. So think about for you, you love Christmas stuff. You loved Christmas stuff, but you are not feeling those same positive feelings toward this anymore because of the sheer amount of stuff, right? You said you've read the books, you said you've watched the YouTube channel, so you understand clutter threshold and that your clutter threshold is different now. Okay. And what used to be stuff that I enjoyed and I took a lot of time in is now turned into clutter because I just can't handle that, right? Like I can't deal with that. So instead, it is something that is a burden on you. Okay. So think in terms of less. So as you are going through, do you take it on before, during, or after? Before, during, or after? You take it on during. That's when you do it. Just kidding. I don't know if she misspelled it or if Jennifer did, but anyway, hi Jennifer. But it's probably my fault. I'll just take on the fault. Anyway, so as you do this, Jennifer's my assistant that comes and like puts them down in the little abbreviated versions. Do you take it on before, during, or after? It's April as we're talking. I know you asked this question a long time ago, but my assumption is that probably from watching other videos that I did after you did this, that you got rid of some as you were going. The ideal is, that as you're putting things out, you realize, oh, what are the things I'm not putting out because I don't have the energy, I don't have the space, or I just don't like it anymore, and get rid of those things. And then as you put things back away, as you pack it up, you realize, you give yourself a limited space and you say, this is the amount of space that I have to devote to this stuff. So I'm going to just put my favorite things in there first. And just knowing there's a limit helps you go, wait, that's not a favorite thing. That's not actually a favorite thing. That thing fell over 16 times over the holiday season, or my kids knocked it over, or I was stressed out because I was afraid they were going to put such and such in their mouth or whatever. So I'm going to get rid of those things now. Like just knowing there's a limit will help you with that. But we're in April. So what do you do now? As you have time and energy, you go through a box at a time. Pick the box that you are pretty sure is going to be your least favorite stuff. Pick the box that you never even thought about opening last Christmas because you were like, no, I think I know what's in there and I'm not. Pick that one and try to eliminate the whole entire box, right? Because you said you've got so many things. Try to get rid of that whole box, meaning I am going to get rid of this box because I want to have less stuff. I'm going to put things either in trash because they are, oh, wait, how did that even get in here? Why did I ever think this was okay to put back in here? Or donate. I'm going to donate this item. Or if I really, really love it, then I'm going to take it there now to this other box that's sitting 2 feet away. And so I'm going to open up that box and say, what in here can I easily stick into the donate box so that I have room for this one item out of this box that I did want to keep? But just doing that little by little, since you have little kids, that's something that you can stop at any time because you're just putting it in trash or donate box. The beauty of this is that there's not far away, take it there now, right here, right? Like, so even with toddlers, you can get them started playing in the general area and work in this space, knowing you're not going to have to walk away at any point because this is where the Christmas stuff is stored. So the take it there now is going to be another storage box next to this or whatever. Got it? Okay. I hope that was helpful. I am going to take questions from comments now. And if you have already asked okay, several of you are mentioning grief share. So I don't know any details about that, but I just want to point that out that several of you are saying that. that that could be very, and I'm hoping that you're also saying that, yes, a lot of times grief, people going through these huge life changes, can be very helpful. So anyway, so Google that. I don't know anything about it to give you any details. Okay, if you have asked a question in the past and I am not getting to it quickly, ask it again with, question marks at the beginning and the end so that I can, notice that it's a question. I can't get to all of them though, sorry. How do you keep calm and consistent? Doing the dishes, cleaning, and decluttering is incredibly draining, and you live with someone who can't clean due to mental illness. Do you ever feel overwhelmed? Okay, so consistency is a word I want you to throw out. Okay, and I know that people are like, wait, what? This idea of, okay, I am completely overwhelmed right now, and in order for me to change my house, I've got to be consistent. There's too much space here, right? Like it's too overwhelming to get from here to here. So take this word consistency out and say, I'm going to do the dishes today. I'm going to do them today. And then tomorrow say, okay, I'm going to do the dishes today. And then the next day, I'm going to do the dishes today. In order to achieve consistency, which of course is the goal, right? In order to achieve that, I have to do the dishes today first. But if I focus on this idea of consistency, instead I find myself making a big plan of how it's all gonna work, which never got me anywhere. What got me somewhere was doing the dishes today and then doing them again tomorrow. So what I'm saying is boil it down and say, all of these things that you're talking about, you're right. It is incredibly draining. It is a lot. If you can't do anything else, do the dishes and do a 5-minute pickup. And when I say 5-minute pickup, I mean an actual 5 minutes of picking stuff up and putting it away. And that's it. All right. If you will do those things, it will bring your house out of crazy disaster zone. Okay. It will maintain the progress that you've already made. And the thing I'm going to say here is, in my experience, and in the experience of I would say thousands of people who have said, yes, this is really what happens. When you get dishes under control and you're really truly doing a day's worth of dishes, rather than catching up on dishes and taking hours in the kitchen, it's amazing how it frees up so much time. Remember dishes math, okay? If you are always behind on dishes, and so when you do the dishes, it is an hours-long cleaning of the kitchen, you don't have a real understanding of how long it takes to do the dishes every day. I thought, because I only ever did dishes when my kitchen was completely a disaster, I thought, well, if it takes me 5 hours to do a week's worth of dishes, then duh, 1 day's worth of dishes is an hour. Who has an hour every day to spend on doing dishes? I don't. So I'm just going to wait. And that's what I thought. That's what I assumed logically was the case. When I started doing my dishes every day, I was like, oh, doing 1 day's worth of dishes takes like 10 or 15 minutes. It does not take the hour that I assumed it did. But if I wait a day, then it's not just double 10 or 15 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. It's actually like at least an hour to do 2 days worth. And then 3 days worth is where you start getting into the 5 hours, 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever. So really zero in on those 2 tasks and say, I'm not going to stress out about how things are going to get done. I'm just going to do the dishes. I'm going to do a 5-minute pickup. I'm telling you, it will change everything. Okay. And also, if you haven't read it, read How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind. That is where I talk about basically all of this. And just know that you can get it at a library if you need to. Okay. Yes, dishes math. I'm telling y'all, dishes math is real. Still struggling with letting go of clothes because of what ifs. My space stresses me out because of the size of the closet. I know I don't wear many of them, but I am paralyzed to purge. Okay. The size of your closet is the size of your closet. I'm sorry. Okay. put your favorite ones in first, or pull out just your least favorites. Say, I love this item. I very well might need it someday. And yet, out of the things in here, it's my least favorite. Pull out least favorite by least favorite by least favorite until it fits. Embrace the reality of the size of your closet. That's more important than the size of you in all of this, right? Like, and I'm assuming you mean like the what ifs. What if this happens? What if I need it someday? What if I whatever? So embrace the size of the closet and let that decide. It's like, this is the size of the closet, so these things deserve space first. The ones I really do wear all the time, okay? Those deserve space first. That doesn't mean you can't keep other things, but you can't keep it if it is more than your closet can hold and your house be under control. Let's see. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm assuming this is referring to another question that was answered earlier. I mean, asked earlier. Here we go. 20 minutes on a timer to unload your dishwasher? Okay, then it would behoove you. I don't really know what behoove means, but I'm pretty sure. It would behoove you to slowly, not by pulling everything out, doing one shelf at a time, rearrange your kitchen. My kitchen is arranged according. My goal is to not move my feet while I am emptying the dishwasher. That's my goal. So my goal is to, like plates are here, mugs are here, da-da-da. Part of that is that I don't have a ton of plates. I don't have a ton of mugs. I only have the one shelf, blah, blah, what will fit in this space. And I do that. So yeah, because in general, most people in my experience, and I would say everyone except for, your experience, but people will say 4 minutes. It's generally 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes. Okay. January 2020. Why is everybody saying January 2020? I have no idea. Okay. How many times did you have to restart decluttering before you got to where you are today with your house? It seems to be my issue. 78,624 times. It's all about restarting. Like, it is literally all about being willing to restart, but every time it gets easier. So I would declutter a space and then the space would be cluttered again. And I was like, oh no, oh my goodness. Why is this so hard? Why can't I? But then I would just re-declutter it. Y'all, re-decluttering is so much easier than decluttering. Why? Because in general, it's just trash, easy stuff, and clutter that has somehow kind of ended up there. Or sometimes where I couldn't make a decision the first time, the next time when I come back to that space, it's like, oh, I agonized over this item last time. It has been a year. I have not even thought about it. And now it's declutter. I'm just telling you, it is all about the restarting. There is no failure. As long as you go again and declutter some more and declutter some more, you're good. Oh, so January 2020 is, I get it now. Okay. Y'all, I was like, what in the world are y'all talking about? Keep asking me about that. Let's see. You put what? I find that you are not funny. You're okay, good. I thought you were saying I wasn't funny. And I was like, honey, that's like the one thing. And I know y'all, okay, I'm just telling y'all something. I shouldn't say this on YouTube. I usually only say this in smaller groups, but I'm just telling y'all, there was a time, it's been several years ago. I started getting all these emails and messages from people, and they were like, Dana, you are funny. You are funny. And I was like, what are you talking about? Clearly, people somewhere on the internet were talking about me not being funny. And I was like, you can say things that will hurt my feelings, and you tell me I'm not funny, and I'm like, bless your heart, because I am. Sorry. I know. It's really, it's one of those things I have zero insecurity about. Oh my word. Okay. Does anyone else rage purge? I got so frustrated yesterday. I said, do what you need to do. That's fine. Although, don't wait for a rage purge. Just start throwing away trash. Just use the 5-step process. What do you do if you've done an extreme declutter of kids' toys and gotten everything to easily fit in a designated space and still can't keep up with the mess? Down to faves already. Make sure you are doing 5-minute pickups in that space with your kids. Work on those 5-minute pickups. Say, okay, it's getting out. Let's do a 5-minute pickup. After a week of 5-minute pickups in that space, first of all, they might start, being a little more likely, it's not guaranteed, right? A little more likely to put things back a little quicker because it has become more natural to actually put things in these homes and stuff. But if you have done 5-minute pickups for a while and it is still more than you can do in 5 minutes with your kids, then you need to declutter more, because then it's a clutter threshold issue. It's not just, so it's container concept is the way to get started. It's the way to see your space differently. It's the way to make non-emotional decisions. And then if it is still getting out of control, then it's a clutter threshold issue. We can't handle this much stuff. We need to get, even though it all fits, we can't handle it. It needs to go. Thank you. I am funny though. There is no funny or not. I know. I guarantee you there are people who are so irritated with me right now as they're watching. Oh, that was one I just did. Let's see. Looking for, I don't know if this is a question. Oh, some items are still a little wet. Sometimes something doesn't come clean, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so on that, make sure you've watched my how to make your dishwasher work better thing. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't put things. First of all, make sure you're using your dry cycle. My mom didn't use her dry cycle on her dishwasher, and I think there was this general idea that, oh, don't do that. It was, y'all, look up your model of your dishwasher and find out how much electricity it actually uses to do that. Like when I went to the Maytag labs, which was life-changing for me, and got to talk to the scientists who do this, they explained, they were like, it was, and this is not me, don't quote me, okay, but it was something like, it's 9 cents of electricity to run your dishwasher. It's like 11 cents if you also do the heated dry. And I was like, it's worth 2 cents. I mean, really, it was something that teeny tiny. Do not quote me. All right. But yeah. I keep going to the same questions. Okay, y'all need to ask me more. Here we go. Dana, I got the hang of the new laundry routine. Yay! 1 laundry day per week. Then after 1 successful month, I'm gardening a few morning hours, then coming in to shower off chiggers and ticks, blah, blah, blah. I cannot wear these clothes again. So close to running out of garden-worthy clothes. Any ideas, suggestions? Yes. So on this, because you have your laundry routine, okay, that means that your washing machine is free the rest of the week, right? Like that's so a lot. There's going to be emergency loads. There's going to be things that have to be done. So what I would do in this situation, I would have to think through like the whole chiggers and ticks or whatever. But I would say, okay, since your washing machine is free 6 days a week, as you're doing the gardening, you put the clothes in there, okay, which I'm assuming they're not your nicest clothes, so it doesn't matter what you wash together, but you throw the clothes in there, and then it's like once there's like 2 or 3 days worth, then you do that, unless you need to go ahead and wash them every day, quickly because of the chiggers and ticks. I keep wanting to say tigers and chicks. Sounds a lot more fun than chiggers and ticks, right? So that, it's not that you can't do laundry on other days, but it's honestly easier psychologically, I believe, I'm not a mental health professional, but it is easier when you're like, because what would happen with me before is like, oh my goodness, we had this horrible, somebody threw up on their sheets or whatever gross happened. And it's like, oh, I've got to go wash this, but oh my goodness, I've got all these other things to watch. But when my washing machine was just available and empty, it was like, oh, okay, I need to do this thing, that came along, and I can just do it. Okay. But don't get caught up oh, here we go. Here's a good question. Don't get like, I can't do what I need to do because I'm breaking the rules of laundry day. Don't do that. Is this you? Is this my husband? And are you my husband asking this? Yeah, if you want to hear him, well, although you've seen him on some YouTube videos, some I've had to take down, but you can hear him on my podcast if you want. I think it was like 100, 200, and 300. It might be 201 because I forgot. But like on the 100th episode, I would interview him. And this is actually our biggest argument in our marriage, is who's funnier. He's actually very, very funny. He's really, really funny. Okay. Over 5,000 items decluttered in the last year, but house still feels like I haven't even made a dent in it. So overwhelmed. How do I motivate myself to keep going? Whatever you need to do. Really focus. Okay, I'm going to say this, and I have no idea if this is the situation. I know there are people who like to count every item, and I think that is great. But I have found, even when, I think it was it Fly Lady who would do like the something boogie fling or whatever, and she'd be like, go through your house and throw away this many items or get rid of this many items. And I would find myself like stuck, like, what? And so the counting of items has not worked for me. I don't know if that's exactly what you're doing here, if you just happen to have counted them, but maybe take away the counting of the items and instead say, I'm going to follow the 5-step process, start getting rid of trash and easy stuff, move it to its established home, and then get rid of declutter and embrace the realities of the space and all that kind of stuff. Starting with the most visible space in your home. And like, really, instead of worrying about getting rid of certain numbers of things, just really like say, I am going to get this most visible space in my home, the entryway, the dining area, whatever it is that's, the first thing people see when they come in my house. I'm going to really just declutter this space down to its best function, reality of the space that's in here, all that kind of, like, I'm going to really do that and then try to, go at it from that angle instead of the counting, is what I would say. I struggle with putting things away because I don't want to mix in anything dirty in a clean container or shelf. It really slows me down having to wet wipe things and let dry. Any advice? Yeah. So, maybe say, I'm gonna like purge some things so I don't have to do this, right? Like, say, is it worth me wiping it down? If it's really worth it, okay, but maybe let that be a reason to say, I don't feel like wiping this down. I would rather just get rid of it. Because if it's dirty, is it dirty because it was, at the bottom of a pile or whatever? But along with this too, is I would really advise, and this is not sponsored or anything, but like, get you a good Swiffer duster that is amazing how it can really get something looking a lot cleaner just with a quick little swish and swipe, right? Like a quick little like around it. So doing that is key. Like, like, what is the quickest way? Because the drying, I think, is part of the issue here for you, right? So like, give it a try to like dry dust it and see, is it clean enough for you to be able to do what you need to do? But also let that be motivation to get rid of stuff. Okay. Y'all are talking so great and among yourselves. My kitchen, it is very small, 12 square meters. I have zero concept of what 12 square meters is. Have I told y'all that story? about one of the reviews on my, I think it was How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind. Somebody had left the review because I was talking about space or something. And I had mentioned that our first house was like 1,750 square feet. And somebody was like, I cannot believe this person has clutter problems when their house was 1,750 square meters. And I was like, no, square feet. Now, I did live overseas and I know that our apartment was measured in meters, but I have zero idea of how many meters that was, right? Anyway, so I looked it up, and what they were picturing when they thought I was saying 1,750 square meters, they were picturing a house, I think it was like 22,000 square feet compared to the 1,700 square feet that I had. And anyway, it just made me laugh because I think I looked it up, and what's his name? Oh, I have told this story because it's the GOAT, right? It's the Tom Brady. Yeah. Tom Brady, greatest of all time, according to a lot of people, whatever. I don't care. That his house was that big. I have told this story. So I may be funny, but I do repeat myself. Okay. On to the question. I like your name here. Life happens. My kitchen is very small, 12 square meters. The countertop is full of stuff. My husband is the main cook for a family of 6. He doesn't want to change. I clean the most and use this room too for my daycare. Okay. It's, if that's the stuff that he's using a lot, again, how I always say, start with your own stuff first. And I know this is difficult because he does a lot of the cooking and you also use it for other things. So go into other places in the kitchen that you do feel the freedom to be the one to make the decisions and clear out those spaces. Like get rid of as much as you can so that then there's some room to maybe take some things from the counter and put it down there. Okay. I am not against having stuff on the counter, but I feel like what you're saying here is that, the countertop is full of stuff. So let's declutter, get with the idea that I'm opening up space in those, cabinets so that then you can declutter there and be like, okay, if this counter was clear, where would I look for it first? It's going to go in this cabinet right here. If the cabinet was clear, I know that we're used to having it up here, but if the cabinet was clear, I would look for it first in this cabinet. You could even just I would say if it was all you could do that first and just be like, okay, I would look for it in this cabinet. What am I willing to get rid of in order to create space for it? And then you pull something out. But because, your husband wants those things up there and you're trying to so the first thing you would do is go ahead and try to clear out that space at the bottom so that then it's a little more logical and easy. And he can kind of see where you're going with things as you do that. Okay. All right. Y'all are talking a lot today. I love it. I do repeat what's important. Think how many times you tell, thank you. Yes, you tell people that you love them again and again and again because they need to hear it. And we also need to hear about, we need to hear our, this stuff. I've had a lot of people who let me know that they appreciate me saying the same thing over and over. So I'm like, okay, good. I'll keep going. I do want to say real quick, moving to Japan, hot, humid weather. Should I buy new clothes before I go, grab a few pieces, try to find stuff there, or just try to cover my body until I get there and then buy stuff that works? Okay, a couple of things here. And I'm just saying this as, me. I don't know where you're going to be in Japan. Obviously, I do want to say that, there's a lot of places in Japan that are actually very cold. So anyway, but as far as buying new clothes before you go, I have no idea who you are, what size you are, anything like that. I just know for me, when I lived in Thailand for 2 years, I bought 2 pieces of clothing because nothing fit me. And it was, I had what I needed. I had way more than I needed anyway. But yeah, so just keep that in mind. I do know there were some of my coworkers from Australia, someone had told them that, oh, still got that. Okay. I don't know where in the world. some of their coworkers had told them that don't buy any clothes. You know, you can just, or don't bring any clothes. You can just buy all your clothes here. They were, I think, each of them around 6 feet tall, and like they had to wear the same clothes for, a year because they literally couldn't find anything. Now you could have things made and stuff like that, but I'm just saying, like, maybe talk to the people who you're going to be, other people that who are over there, if you know anybody yet. Okay, couple things. I just want to make sure if you like our community, you'll love our Patreon group, right? Patreon.com/slobcomesclean. We have a lovely Facebook group. You can go to slobcomesclean.com/5 to get a printable. When you sign up for my newsletter, you get a printable of my 5-step process. AskNikkiWhite.com is where you go to ask questions for future lives. And declutteringcoaches.com is where my lovely trained and certified coaches who know my method and know how to kindly help you work through your clutter. You can go there and see if there's a coach in your area, or you can hire somebody to work with you virtually. So, all right, it's been fun. I should be here next Tuesday. Yeah, so I'll see y'all later. Bye.